Well, all right, CMI family, it's time for us to get started today. It's just afternoon. And during today's event, we get to celebrate our journey in December. Here, while we're celebrating Christmas, we're going to celebrate our journey. And so we get the opportunity to hear from Arlene Pellicane. She is the spokesperson for National Marriage Week. And then we'll hear from Anna Panter and Addison Oltmans on year-end impact reports. And finally, we'll get to hear from Caton. And so before we get started, I do want to let you know that the session, like always, is being recorded and it'll be shared with each of you in my follow-up emails. So you guys just be on the lookout for that email. Also, at the close of the call, we're going to have an opportunity for you to share the impact our leaders have made on you and your community. So be ready for that. And then we want to make you guys aware, don't forget February 7th through 14th is National Marriage Week 2025. And this year's theme is Pursuing a Lasting Love. And if you would just go to marriageweek.org and check out the great lineup of speakers we have planned for the National Marriage Week live streams. And you can find everything you need to know there. And I'll also be sharing the new National Marriage Week graphics in my follow-up email. So you'll want to be on the lookout for that. All right, let's begin with prayer today. And we have Jim Saemenes from Linn-Benton Marriage Initiative, and he's going to be leading us in prayer today. So whenever you are ready, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Steph. It's great to be with everyone, and let's just lift our thoughts to our Father. Dear Father, we come before you today, and we are amazed that you have brought us together as a group in your plan and in your purpose, each one of us working that out in our cities and our locales, and yet with a unity that comes from you. And we thank you for this season that we stop and reflect. Actually, our whole world stops and reflects about Christmas and your son's name even involved in that holiday. And so, Father, we give you honor and praise that you give us multitude of opportunities during this season to remind people about Jesus and the reason for this season and the reason why we do what we do for marriages in a way of reflecting your glory in your heart. So continue to empower us and bless us. In particular, I pray for those that are in leadership positions within this gathering that have been so beneficial and so helpful, and what a great gift they are from you to all of us. So we thank you for them. And in 2025, would you continue to heal marriages and strengthen marriages and increase your influence in this field throughout our cities and our nation. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for praying, Jim. Well, it's truly an honor to introduce to you our guest speaker, Arlene Pellicane. And Arlene is a captivating speaker. If you've heard her, you know. She's the host of the Happy Home podcast and the spokesperson for National Marriage Week, and the brilliant author behind impactful books such as Parents Rising, 31 Days to a Happy Husband, and Screen Kids. Her wisdom has graced major platforms, including The Today Show, Fox and Friends, The Wall Street Journal, and Focus on the Family. So I can't wait for you guys to hear from Arlene today.
It's so good to be with you today. My daughter Lucy and I got to travel last month to the beautiful city of Chicago. I was doing a speaking engagement, and Lucy was able to come and even share for 10 minutes with the parents about what it's like to grow up without social media or a smartphone. That's what's happened to her as a sophomore, but that is another subject, a good one. But we went to the Macy's and we were told to go to the Walnut Room. And the Walnut Room is this beautiful dining place where you can see the city, and there's this huge Christmas tree that's all lit up, and it's got big gifts around it. It's got red lights, so it has a red hue in there, and people go in there just to take selfies with the Christmas tree. And it was just beautiful. So I said to Lucy, my goodness, look, we're going to eat here. We're going to look at the tree. And it was so beautiful and made such an impression to see such a large tree. And today, I just want to remind us that, you know what, when you have a good marriage, when we all have good marriages, it's like this big Christmas tree. It's like this big thing that people can come and see and say, well, wait a minute. I thought marriage was, it's so terrible. It ends in divorce. But I know that one particular couple, you, the person watching right now. And they are like a Christmas tree, like they're beautiful and all lit up. And during our trip, we met, the host, and the host was a children's pastor and her husband, and they've been married for 12 years, and they were just absolutely adorable. You know how you meet people and it's just like, these people are adorable. So for my daughter, Lucy, who is 15 years old, to be able to meet this couple and see how they love each other so well, complement each other so well. They told funny stories of when they were first dating, and then falling in love. And then she is expecting a proposal. Like she's thinking any day now he's going to propose. Well, he had to work a night shift. And so he was so tired, but he wanted to see his girlfriend so bad that after the night shift, he's like, well, let me come and see you. So he went to see her, and he got down on one knee because he wanted to pull something out of his backpack. And she thought, this is a proposal, but he just wanted to show her something from his backpack. And she was so mad and said, go home. I don't want to talk to you anymore, because she thought it was a proposal. They had all these funny stories, and they were so adorable. And they showed my daughter, someday I want to have a story like that. And my friends, when we work on our own marriages, and we work to promote marriage as you are doing right now in your community, in your church, with your people, what we're doing is we're building that Christmas tree. We're building something beautiful to show people, hey, marriage is a good thing. We want to be a light in our community. And you may feel sometimes like, oh, I'm just this tiny Christmas tree, or I'm just a single ornament. What can I do for the cause of marriage? You can do a lot, because as we decorate that tree together, we're doing it together, showing people that marriage is worth fighting for, that marriages are good, and then showing the next generation, which is, our own children, our grandchildren, and then those that we meet, to show them marriage is a really, really good thing. Because when we live out a good marriage, that not only blesses us, because obviously, wouldn't you rather live in a good marriage than a bad marriage? So that blesses us, but it also blesses the people around us. And my goodness, now more than ever, we need to get some people excited about marriage. In the United States, the fertility rate is 1.7. It has been decreasing by 2% every year since about 2014. And that rate needs to be 2.1 just to maintain your population. So as you think about it, the generations that come after us, are there going to be generations that come after us? And you know what? In America and in many countries around the world, the answer is no. We've got to do something so that people will fall in love, get married, have children, and our civilization can continue. I mean, it is kind of a big deal. But we hear about what? Recycling and with the earth and the planet, but we don't hear about marriage. And yet marriage really is something that needs to be shouted from the rooftops, that, hey, marriage is a good thing, and it's going to help our society so much. So the interest in marriage and children may be decreasing within young people, but what's increasing? Anxiety, depression, loneliness. They did a study of college students. I think these are all of our future husbands and wives, they're college students, and they surveyed 33,000 college students, and they found that 2 out of 3 struggle with loneliness. And to put that into perspective, I am a mother in my 50s. And if I was placed with 3,000 other mothers in their 50s, do you think I'd be able to find a friend? Probably, right? Like, college is the time where you have the greatest chance of making a friend, because everybody's at your same age. You're all at the same stage of leaving home and becoming an adult. Maybe you're a music major and you're surrounded by other music majors. Like, college of all times in your life is the time when it should be easiest to make a friend. And yet 2 out of 3 of our young people are saying they're lonely. Why? Because they're not valuing in-person relationships. And then long term, when you get married, guess what? You have a best friend for life. My mom and dad, who have been married 53 plus years, My dad was saying, it used to be when people came home, they came home to their family. They came home to their husband or their wife, and they talked about the day over chicken, right? And you're just eating. It's like chicken soup for the soul. They're eating and talking, and that was that. But now we don't have that. We don't. A lot of people don't have someone to go home to and talk to, and that's why we are so lonely. That's why we need to pay a counselor to listen to us. And counseling is very good. So please don't hear me that I said it was bad. What I'm saying is, a lot of times we wouldn't necessarily need a counselor if we were talking every single day to someone who loved us and listening every single day to someone we loved. And that's called marriage. And so please know that, like Brad Wilcox tells us over and over again, the researcher, get married, right? His book, Get Married. We want to encourage people to get married. And instead of just telling them, you ought to get married, what's what? No, let's show them the Christmas tree. Let's show them the beautiful marriages. Let's be the people like that children's pastor and her husband that showed my daughter, like, wow, marriage is something really beautiful. And the great thing about marketing marriage, you don't have to lie. You can be super honest. You can say, some days are tough. And we argue because we're not the same person. So we're going to have disagreements and it can be hard. And man, we had those hard years. But if you stick it out, it's the best thing. We're always together. You always have a friend. You don't have to eat alone. You dream together. I mean, marriage is really a really beautiful thing. So remember, marriage is good for our society and it's also good for you. And I just want to thank you so much for being part of this marriage movement in our country to say that marriage is good. We want to encourage younger people to like marriage. I have a new book coming out in February. It's called Making Marriage Easier. So whether you've been married for 50 years or whether you're a newlywed, this book is for you. Just like, how do we make this easier? Like, when you have to go to the gym in the morning and it's good for you, but you don't want to go. But the way you make that easier is you put your shoes by your bed. You pick your outfit for girls. I don't think men have to do this, but for girls, we pick out our outfit, we stick it next to the shoes. We have the car keys, easily accessible, so we can just hop right in and take off. We make it easier. So what are these rhythms? What are systems that we can put into place that make marriage easier? So that book is coming out in February. I encourage you, get a copy, share it with the people in your life and in your community, because if we can help people, instead of thinking marriage is so hard and so tough and we're never going to make it. Instead, we want to show them, you know what? There's a way to make marriage easier. And you can do this. It's not just for the select few, it's for everybody. I went backpacking with my family, and believe me, that is not easy for me to go to the bathroom in the wild, to carry my tent on my back. This is not my jam at all. But I do this. Why? Because my husband likes it. My children like it. So there we were backpacking near Yosemite. And it's whatever, 18 miles up and down the mountain over 3 days. So when it was easy, it's level or just a very slight incline, or the lake is to your left and it's just breathtaking, then I'm like, this is amazing. I love this. But when it got snowy, we were there in June and there were still like patches of snow on the ground and obscuring the path. So we couldn't go down that particular path because it was so snowy. So when those moments came, when it was like uphill, like sheer and hard, or down's really hard on the knees when you're just like, oh, your knees are going. Then I'm like, I should not have gone on this trip. This trip is very hard. And that backpacking trip is kind of like marriage. You make the journey, you have the map, you get the advice, but until you are actually on the trail, you have no idea what's going to happen and what it's going to be like. And when it's easy, you're like, this is great. But when it's challenging, you're like, maybe I'm out, right? And what we want to help people do through our community marriage groups and through encouraging people and through us gathering online like this is, let's have this vision of, hey, we are on this journey. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's hard, but regardless of what comes our way, we are going to finish this journey together. We are going to leverage the team. Sometimes when I couldn't do things on the backpacking trip, there was honestly a time where my family, we were all carrying about 22 pounds. Let's say the men were carrying a little bit more. So they would literally take everything out of my backpack and redistribute it to my children because I wasn't going to make it otherwise. And you know what? Sometimes in marriage ministry, that's what you do. That you say, please unload your burden to me. Let me listen to you. Let me be there for you. And when you bear one another's burdens, you help people make the journey. So thank you so much for being part of this movement. This year's theme is pursuing a lasting love. And that's what we're after, not just a love that fizzles out, but a love that goes the distance. And one really unique thing to Marriage Week this year, which is, of course, February 7th to 14th, is there will be a live stream every evening that you can watch for free about 8 essentials of lasting love. So every night from February 7th to February 14th, you can watch a live stream. And by the end, you will know 8 essentials of a lasting love. So that's just one of many resources that are available. Thanks so much for your time. Happy camping to you and Merry Christmas.
All right. That was such a great message from Arlene. We're so grateful to have Arlene as the spokesperson for National Marriage Week. She brings so much joy to this work, and she's such an inspiration. Well, up next, it's a pleasure to introduce Anna Panter, Marriage Initiative's Donor Development Officer, and Addison Oltmans, Marriage Initiative's Visual Designer. And they're going to share tips on putting together a year-end impact report. And they have pre-recorded their presentation for us.
All right, Addison, thank you for joining me as we talk about our process and how to create a year-end graphic report. I love that this process can actually apply to other graphic projects in report style. We've done them mid-year and end of year. So folks who are listening, this process is intended to provide a straightforward, clear pathway to communicating and collaborating with your graphic design team and also the rest of your team who's doing such amazing work.
Yes, and we took our process and divided it down into 5 steps, 5-step process for you guys to follow. So step 1 is ongoing data collection.
So each staff member is asked to track any stories, quantifiable elements of their work, quotes that they receive from people they work with, research, and images throughout the year for the specific projects under their space. Each staff member can do this in a format that's uniquely intuitive for them and their work, especially being that it's a year-long collection process. It's really important to make sure each person feels comfortable with what they're collecting and how they're keeping track of it.
Yes. And so part of that is an early year conversation that we have as a team. At the start of the year, we meet to discuss the data collection categories, ensuring everyone understands what to track and addressing any questions. So at that meeting, we decide what our categories are going to be. So if we took all our data and just put it into the drive, there would be a lot of organizing that had to happen before we did the project, and the bulk of the project would be organizing. So instead of that, we predefine our categories. So here is a screenshot of our drive folder that this was for our National Marriage Week report. And we had our different categories that our team was able to put any content that they had, any stats, pictures, or any other content, they would put it in those folders. And then when we created the project, we were able to go in and take each one of these folders, and we ended up taking the folders and making each page designed after one of the folders. So that just made that step way more effective for us and way quicker for us.
Yeah, I also think, just to tag on to what you were saying, it helped us in the vision casting of how we wanted to lay out the document in the final product, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So another thing that we start in January is just active listening. When we get together for staff meetings, it's really important that as people are sharing updates during staff meeting on correspondence they've had with people, or mile markers or celebratory moments, that even though I'm hoping that they add those to their tracking documents, I'm also taking notes, and I may follow up with that person and say, hey, what I heard you share during staff meeting today was really powerful. Can you make sure that's added in your tracking document for impact? Another option is I may just keep a document of my own where I just type that in to remember it and who said it so that I can go back and ask them about it later if I need to.
Next up, we have our layout vision meeting. And so this is when it's time to create the project. And so what we do at this meeting is it's a very high level vision meeting. And so we're not going to talk about all the little paragraphs in there where everything's at. We're going to talk about high level themes and vision, what we want to accomplish with the graphic report, what we have done in the past, what we want to do this time. We also have an elements document that Anna made that she is going to go over with you. So you can do that now, Anna.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so when we get started, I want to make sure that as I'm entering into my meeting with Addison, that I'm prepared in knowing how to convey what it is that I want, and then collaborating with Addison and her expertise on what she recommends should be included. So just so that I've done a little bit of research ahead of time, since I'm not a graphic designer, I put together a document of elements that we want to just talk about and to take into consideration. We will send you that document in some resources after this presentation. But some of the elements in that document that are recommended include a cover page, an introduction, making sure you cover your key accomplishments and areas of impact, our impact, stories of impact. Stories are so powerful. If you can get quotes throughout the year of how people's lives have been impacted, or their marriage has been changed, those are really gold. Challenges and solutions, you might choose to mention those. And then definitely a segment of your project document that focuses on looking forward in the vision ahead. And then definitely showing appreciation, saying thank you, making acknowledgments that you feel are necessary. And then never forget a call to action. You can decide how prominent that call to action is in your document, and that, is up to your discretion, but definitely including it somewhere. So this document is just kind of a checklist of things for you to take into consideration. It also includes some design tips.
Perfect. And then also at that meeting, we talk about design inspiration. And so throughout the year, we are collecting different graphics, infographics, websites, screenshots, just different things that we like and we think would be a great way to show what we have been doing. So right here, we have a graphic from the botanical gardens and that we really liked because it showed their identity. And instead of just saying donate today, it caught your attention and it immediately showed who they are. And so we loved that. And so we saved that to apply to our graphic. And so we also have a Google Drive folder that just has different annual reports from people. During this meeting, we go through those annual reports together and we talk about what we like from them, what we can use, what we think works for us. There's also screenshots from websites. It's just different inspiration for us to pull from, and so that we're not starting from scratch. And it's a great way for us to create a template.
Absolutely. And so during this vision and planning meeting, we also talk about the project goals. So we'll talk about important elements like who is our target audience, who will read this and receive this. What is the delivery method? Does this, that's something I feel like Addison should probably know early on as she's creating the document. Will our expectations be to print it? Can it be formatted to go through an email? Some of those hidden but very important elements are good to talk about. We also talk about benchmarks deadlines of our timeline. When is our final timeline? When is this due? And then what do we want to have accomplished in segments up until that point? And then the last thing is we tend to talk about how long do we want this document to be? So Addison and I are really trying to get on the same page with regard to expectations on those very simple details.
And then next up, we have the template creation and collaboration with the template draft.
Yes. And so this is like one of my favorite steps because you've been collecting information and inspiring impact all year, and it's jumbled on the drive. I mean, it's not fully jumbled. We shared how we organized it, but it's not been placed strategically into your story, right, of the year. And so this is a spot where Addison creates a general template based on all the things that we've discussed. And it is so helpful for me to know once I've seen that template, okay, so in this area, how much content do I need to provide to her in different specific areas based on how much space she's allotted for those things. And then we can wiggle and adjust those areas as needed throughout the process.
Yes, and one way we do that is we use a tool called Markup, and we love Markup.
We love Markup. This tool is amazing.
Yes, we love it so much. I think that if out of everything, if we could recommend one thing, Markup would probably be the thing that we recommended the most. So I'm going to show you a little bit how we use the Markup tool. Markup is a free website that anybody can access, and we use it for every single one of our reports and even other graphic projects that we do. But the main bulk of it happens for the end of year report. So I'm going to show you exactly how we use it. So here I have uploaded our end of year report, and let's say we need to condense something or we need to add more content, just like how Anna said with the template, there might be open spaces. I'll put in there, this is an open space. And we're able to click right on the graphic where we want to add a comment, and we can add whatever text we want. So let's say Anna wants to change a word. She would just type in, can we change this word? And then she might put what we want. And it tells me exactly on the document where we're at. And you also can resolve the comments. I love a checklist. And so it feels like a checklist. I'm able to resolve that comment. But we're also talking on here too. So like if one of us has a question, we'll put it in there, we'll tag the other person, and we can talk something out before we make an edit. And so we spend the bulk of our time on this project in the collaborative review process. The first draft that I send Anna, we both know is not going to be the final draft. There's still a lot that has to be fixed with it, but we still put it in Markup because that is where we really end up with the end product because of Markup. We're working together, and not just on Markup, we're talking through Slack, we're talking on the phone. If you look at mine and Anna's Slack messages from the past couple of weeks, it's just going to be messages back and forth. There's a new draft, there's a new edit. And so we're just constantly talking. And so the bulk of this process happens in this section. And Markup has really been just the tool that makes this section so effective. And we can work so efficiently together through this tool. So definitely recommend Markup.
Yeah, so much so that anytime we're working on any graphic, I'm always telling Addison, can you put it in Markup? Because it's just fun that way.
Yes. Markup is probably our favorite tool.
Absolutely.
We are on to review.
Yeah. So one process step that we've added here that we really value is recruiting a volunteer on the outside of our organization to take a look at what we consider a final project or in its final stages, and getting some fresh eyes on the document to give their perspective from someone who doesn't know the language, our internal language, and can hold us accountable to ensuring that all of our communication, whether it's through images, graphics, or words on this document, are understandable for the general public or whoever may be out there that will see it. And so the way we've recruited volunteers, we have a volunteer database called Catch a Fire we have access to, where we found really a new friend. His name is Mike. And we call on Mike to serve in this role. And he's amazing. Addison and I are both creative minds, and Mike is a very analytical mind. He has a data background in engineering. And so I intentionally chose someone who just really looks at things in a different way than Addison and I do. And so, yeah, he meets with us on Zoom. He's in Fort Worth area, so he's not local. And he just walks through the document with us and gives us his input. I really love that. I can share more about Catch a Fire volunteer database system with you all at another time. You're welcome to send me an email, but you can also just choose someone in your community that you trust to give honest feedback.
Yeah, Mike it was a huge thing for us too, because he will go through our document and tell us what he finds exceptionally captivating. And that's really cool to see too, from fresh eyes. We're seeing this all year long. And so it's right in front of his face for the first time. And so he's able to tell us, hey, this is really cool. I really like this stat. Or he is able to he even thinks creatively sometimes, and he's like, hey, this data right here, could you make it a little bit like easier to look at? Like you're just able to be drawn right to it. And so he's been just a great asset to us in this process.
Absolutely. And so then after that, once Mike has reviewed it and we've taken into consideration his suggestions, then we send our last review to Carl, the boss man. So we love and can't wait to introduce our product to Carl, and he will also do a fresh eyes review from an internal perspective. And we really always value his input and enthusiasm. So
for sure.
Yeah, and then finally, we really just want to circle back to some of those benchmark deadlines that we had set initially. Are we on track timing wise? And when do we plan to distribute this? How can we improve our timeliness for next year or for the next project? Maybe take some notes on things we want to tweak. We're always in reflection about our process, and then go ahead and distribute this. Some ways that we distribute our document is through email. We've printed it out and put it in an envelope and just sent it in traditional mail. We post it on our website. And then if you have a very special funder or audience person that you want to do something special with this, we've even taken it to like a FedEx store, printed it on semi-glossy paper and had it binded and then mailed out a few to some unique recipients. And then this chart, it's really something you can edit. You can use it how is most benefit to you. But this is kind of a general timeline of our process in a table format.
Great. And that's basically our full 5-step process. If you have any questions, you can email us. I believe that our emails will be sent out afterwards.
And we will include in that email this slide deck. We will include our process for creating the report document, and we will also include the elements for consideration in your final project document. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Well, all right. I will be sending out all the items that Anna and Addison mentioned, along with their email addresses to you in case you have any questions for them. Last but certainly not least, we get to hear from Carl Caton, the president and founder of Marriage Initiative. So Carl, whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Stephanie. And gosh, well, it's been so fun just to look at all the different ways that we're working together and sharing the amazing things that we're learning. And one of the things that I just love to say about this movement is that everyone's need is met by the strength of another. Everyone's need is met by the strength of another. Fundamentally, what do we believe about our work? We believe that God desires to redeem and restore marriages, right, in our cities and across the country by his power and for his glory. I think fundamentally what we all agree upon is that God is moving powerfully in our country. And despite, the fact that marriage has been through, what some people call a challenging season, beginning with the no-fault divorce, not to say epidemic or pandemic, but the no-fault divorce season that our country went through and all the things that, have happened since then. God hasn't given up on marriage. And I think we all uniquely believe that. And it's exciting that that we not only get to see God moving powerfully, but we get to work each other together with each other. And I just want each of you to know that we're kind of just wrapping up this year, and it's been such a joy just to visit with each of you each month as we check in and see what you're doing. I want you to know how much we've learned from you. This is a work of collaboration, and we're inspired by the unique vision that you have, the unique progress that you're making in your own city, the amazing ways that each team in every city is creatively doing their work. It's just so exciting. Every call we're on, we learn something from you, and we get the opportunity to kind of share that with others. But most of all, and I think Stephanie would agree with me, is that we're just inspired by your faithfulness. It's marriage, working in the marriage space isn't easy, right? And there's not a whole lot of funding to this, despite the fact that Dennis has been so incredibly generous to this. But this is a field that's not highly funded. For every one of you, this is a work that is highly sacrificial. You're giving of yourself and your time and your passion and your energy when you could be giving us so many different things. You're giving this uniquely to something that God is doing. And so I just want to celebrate and just honor you for the sacrifice that you make to be a part of this. It's fun to do this together. The best friends are not made sitting on benches, but serving in trenches. I don't know if you've ever heard that one. I love that phrase. But it's so amazing how we've come together, even on these calls too. I scanned back through this morning through all of our videos this year, and I was just surprised to be reminded of all the things that we've shared with each other about how to help churches do marriage ministries well. And we had several of you talking about how to serve pastors in a unique way that's helpful to them and helps engage them in the process. And we've shared how to do events and how to support events and how to create partnerships. And we've talked so much this year about how to do communication in this well. And so messaging, communication, listening, newsletters, building teams, building capacity. Those are just some of the things that we've talked about. And we've heard from seasoned veterans, people who've been doing this for decades, and people who are new to this. And so it's just been really a fun time to come together in this way. We're making a difference. The Surgeon General, you've probably heard him recently. He said, he said America is in a crisis of connection. And I think we all see that. But our good friend John Seal has been doing a lot of writing for us and some writing that we're sharing with others. And I want to read a little bit of something that he wrote recently that I think should give us all encouragement. He said, yes, that marriage has been through a difficult season, but the social reality is already pushing back. Because in recent decades, social science research has shifted its orientation from the study of pathologies to the study of health and flourishing. This has been a helpful shift in that it highlights social behaviors that foster human flourishing and health. So whether it's the University of Pennsylvania talking about positive psychology, or whether it's Harvard University study on human flourishing, there's been a host of studies on the social and psychological benefits of marriage. the data points in the same direction, which is that marriage is the key to human and societal flourishing. And so, but despite the negative public narrative about marriage, the truth is that marriage is a much higher predictor of happiness than work or money, because marriage addresses our constitutional need for sociality and belongingness. So this should be hardly surprising. Harvard University's Tyler Vanderweel concludes by saying this: the effects of marriage on health, happiness, and life satisfaction, on meaning and purpose, on character and virtue, on close social relationships, and on financial stability are profound. So I think, what's exciting to me is I feel like the winds have shifted, in that it seems like we've been fighting a headwind for so many decades that began in the 70s, but it seems like that the energy of all the pushback on marriage is slowing, and that people are beginning to slowly realize that marriage plays a profound and important effect in our society. So I just want to just celebrate all of you and the work that you've been doing, and just honor you for the sacrifice that you're making. And also, I wanted to see Stephanie. I'm not sure who's running the spotlight screen, but if you could take me off a spotlight, I want to invite Dennis to. Yeah, there we go. I reached out to Dennis this morning, and I had a neat little call with him, and I said, Dennis, it's interesting that Stephanie put the agenda together, and probably the most competent person to speak this morning might be Stephanie, because as you all know, she is in the center of all of this. And so Dennis and I know all of you just want to celebrate Stephanie, because she has been serving with surprising generosity in such an amazing way. And I want you to do this, but give Stephanie a hand wave, but that's like a clap, right? If we can't hear her clap. And Stephanie, we're so grateful for you. And let me tell you, friends, you know this because you work with her. She manages 1,000 details. And when she and I did her year-end review, she shared with me that she loves this work because she loves the people she works with. And that's all of you. And so, Stephanie, a special thank you to you again for all that you do to make all this happen. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
And if I can just jump in and second really everything that Carla said, is that Steph, you really are amazing. You are juggling 1,000 balls. You're responding to Carl's request, and then Dennis will throw in something from the sideline, and you'll just kind of take it all in stride. And then you're meeting with all of the grantees and all of the people that are looking at this in the future, and just giving support. And I definitely want to acknowledge you, Steph. So again, another round of applause for Stephanie. So thanks. But I also want to acknowledge
you guys. Thank you so much for that. That was unexpected.
I also want to acknowledge Carl, though, because Carl really is the leader of the entire support system here. That is, and you'll, I'm talking to everybody else now, you'll never meet a man who really fulfills the role of servant leadership the way that Carl does. And just like, we don't see Steph put herself in the spotlight, we never see Carl put himself in the spotlight. He's always in that role of servant leadership. And so, I was talking to somebody about this whole movement, and they were saying, well, Dennis, so much you've done. And I said, well, no, all I do is I write checks. I just send money. It's really Carl and Stephanie and Carl's organization that really puts the support behind everything that happens here. So kudos to Steph and kudos to Carl. And if we could get a round of applause for Carl as well. Also to each of you, both the funded grantees and the people who are considering this down the road. It's really, you guys are the ones that are putting this in place. Carl and Steph and I and our organizations, we're here to support you, but we're in a support role you guys are the ones who are actually making it happen. You guys are in the trenches making it happen. And I'm so impressed with these trainings when I see kind of input from people that have been in the trenches and continuing to do the work. So really a salute. So now another round of applause to everybody else for all of your hard work. So thank you to all of you.
Well, now it's time for our open mic segment. And this is, you all know Dennis and Carl, and you are aware of their passion and for marriage ministry and all that they do and the impact that they've had on countless families. And these two have such a great partnership, and they work so well together to further the mission. Really, I've never seen a partnership quite like the partnership between Carl and Dennis. It's amazing. And I know that the two of them have made an impact on so many marriages in your communities indirectly through sowing into you, so you can in turn sow into every marriage you come in contact with. And I think it's really important for us to honor our leaders and express gratitude for all they've done. And so that's why we've planned this segment. And so this is going to be your opportunity for you to share how Dennis and Carl have impacted you in your community. And Carl didn't know he was going to be included in this, but I had CMIs ask, can Carl be included, please? So this is for Carl and Dennis. If you would like to just share how they have impacted you in your community, if you would raise your virtual hand, I will call on you. And I see Bruce has his hand raised first.
I just want to say thank you to both Dennis and Carl. You're actually an answer to our prayers. We had a passion for helping married couples in the Tulsa area and didn't know how to do it. And God, through God orchestrated events, put us in touch with the CMI, and that's exactly what we needed and what we wanted to do. So we're so thankful for both of you. It's been a long process of dealing with churches that say that marriage is important and don't do anything, but eventually they started coming around, and we're starting to see some traction with some of these churches, and it's really exciting to see what God's doing. And I just think that it wouldn't have happened if we had not had been working with Dennis and Carl and Stephanie and everybody else in the CMI family. So thank you so much.
Yeah, because we've learned from all of y'all.
Well, we've learned from you guys too. So thank you so much for all you do. Is there anyone else who would like to share? I see Michelle has her hand raised. Michelle, go ahead.
Thanks, Steph. So I have the opportunity to work with Dennis on a regular basis and then Carl through these meetings. And I will tell you, it's all about the numbers. So when I started with our marriage initiative here, we were #1 in the state per capita for divorces in my small little community. And so as of last year, we were #10. And so really, when you look at the impact that the marriage initiative and of course, Dennis and Live the Life have had on our community, it's all in those numbers. And, as we continue to grow and to move and to learn new things and, have to do shift and to keep everybody active and engaged, it really is this group and this team that really kind of helps give us some new, fresh ideas on how to look at things of the ways that we've been doing and making those impacts. So really, I thank you both, Dennis and Carl, and the whole team for really helping to support our little tiny county over here in the Panhandle of Florida.
Thank you for sharing, Michelle. Tom, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to express my appreciation, for Steph, Carl, and Dennis for your responsiveness to all my questions at different times. No matter how big or little, you just are very responsive and I guess I'd say servant-oriented, and that's been a real blessing. And you personalize the whole movement, and I'm just very impressed. I've been a part of other groups, and what you guys are doing is tremendous. So thank you.
Thank you. Keith?
Yeah, I've often heard pastors say that encouragement is almost a lost gift in the church. And I would say in this space, it is absolutely the opposite. The encouragement, you guys are giving us courage to walk out what God is calling us to do. So Carl, Dennis, and Steph, all of you together, this space is so life-giving, and it gives us strength and courage to do that work. So we're deeply grateful for you.
Thank you, Keith. We're grateful for you as well. Anyone else want to share? Amy?
Hi, everybody, and thank you to the whole Sammy and the Marriage Initiative team, but Carl and Steph and Dennis. I have two of my board members on the call today, and I'm so very excited about that because our board is starting to catch on in a new way how important the project is. And so thank you for helping us to have the energy and confidence to just keep going, because sometimes it does, you hit those valleys. The peaks are few and far between sometimes, but then the Marriage Initiative call is there. And Dennis has some stat or some story to tell, or Carl has some business learning expertise that he shares with us and makes us feel like we're part of something bigger and not just stuck over here on the East Coast. So thank you for each of you for blessing us all across America with your vision and your love for those who are championing marriage along with you.
Thank you, Amy. Jerry?
I just wanted to say thank you to Carl and Dennis and the whole team. Kate and I want to express our thanks for trusting us, for choosing us, and thank you for continuing to equip us so that we can serve others. You know, there are couples out there that are going to be strengthened because of what you guys are doing. There are going to be children who are going to be encouraged because of what you guys are doing. There are going to be families that are going to be saved because of what you guys are doing. And, you know, me personally, I'm thankful that in the very beginning, when we started this a couple of years ago and you guys approved our application in the grant process, you guys really gave us a lot of hope. We had been working in this space for several years, and it was just kind of a slow, gradual pace. And you guys really were able to give us a shot in the arm on this and to help us really boost the effort that we were making. And now it was hope, and we are in the encouragement phase, and we just value your continued encouragement. And lastly, I just want to say thank you for the friendship. You guys are amazing. We love you. And there are a lot of people that will be throwing their crowns in heaven to the Lord Jesus and thanking you for your effort as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Maria.
Yes, I am very grateful to be part of this movement, and it really has inspired me, and I have learned a lot about relationships and marriage, and how to communicate and how to inspire other people. So I'm really grateful for Cars, for you, Stephen, for putting everything together and help us, and also for Dennis. I just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas, and I'm very grateful to be part of this.
Thank you, Maria. Ken?
Okay, so I guess the other half of the Ken and Maria has to chime in.
Yes.
Since we have such a distance between us at the moment. No, honestly, Maria and I, quite a few years back, were looking for a way to get involved with marriages because we saw a lot of the hurt from children who were our son's friends, who were being hurt by divorce. The short version of this, because we know Ken can be long, is that God placed Dennis in our path in a completely unexpected way. So in only a way that he can, right? And so one, we are eternally grateful to Dennis for taking us in and for working with him and for showing us a way and providing us a means to be able to do this. And then on top of that, very early on, we were able to go out and meet this unusual character named Caton, who just endeared himself into our lives. And Carl, I know we don't spend that much time together, but you are an inspiration to so many people. You have no idea. Just your example, you hardly need to say a word. So, and Stephanie, we appreciate you as well. I know that this is not the Stephanie hour, but we really do, because you help to keep that engine really rolling along. And without all of y'all, we would just not be, Maria and I would not be able to do what we are doing. And so it has brought our passion for working with marriages. It has given us the vehicle to do that. And so we just want you to know how much we really do appreciate y'all if we don't say it.
Thank you, Ken. Rodney?
Hi. Yeah, I wanna start with Carl. A few years ago when we were working on our resource network website and getting together, it was a huge struggle. As a team, the group of us here in Oklahoma City that were trying to come together, we had our own struggles, and in the midst of all that, Carl was really patient with us because I'm telling you, I believe we asked probably 1,000 questions, and sometimes he had to repeat himself. But in the end, he was very patient with us, and he shared so much knowledge and wisdom and experience. And in the beginning, it was a bit overwhelming, but we've learned a lot from you, Carl, and just really appreciate all the things that you've done. You and the team from San Antonio. We're just so blessed, to have come in contact, to get to know you. And as far as Dennis is concerned, just want to say that don't know you very well, Dennis, but from the short time, your energy, your energy is special. You have a special amount of energy. We love your energy. We love your drive. And we are looking forward to learning more and doing more for the kingdom, for the cause of marriage. So thank you all. And you, Stephanie, as well. We love you as well. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rodney. Dave?
I agree with everything that's been said. I think all of us salute everything that's already been said. 28 years into a marriage ministry in Oregon, came across this CMI grant idea. And I'm reading through this and this is exactly what God's called us to do. And we've been leaning into it as best as we had been able to. And the idea of being able to learn from people such as Dennis and Carl and be a part of a network with all of you, to be able to take marriage ministry in Oregon to whole new levels has just been so exciting. And the idea of this network of like-minded, like-hearted people, just the vision to create something like this in the first place is awesome. And Dennis and Carl, just the fact that you guys have been leaning into this call in your lives with such faithfulness, steady, consistent, inspiring others, bringing others along, equipping us, encouraging us, supporting us. We are deeply grateful. So,
Thank you, Dave, for sharing. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Carl.
Maybe I could just close this out today, but I shared something with a team this last week that kind of reminded me of our work together. Kelly and I, we've for a lot of years run half marathons together as a couple. And one of the first half marathons we did was the Austin half marathon. And what's unique about Austin is you start 13 miles north of the city, but the entire run, you can see the skyline. And so you have this, it's an easier half because you can see the finish line, even though you look at it and you say, oh my gosh, you cannot believe how far, at least you can see the finish line, But a couple years ago, we did a trail half in Minnesota, and it was laid out in a ski resort, Porcupine Mountains. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Porcupine Mountains. And but one of the unique challenges of that one was like we could never get a glimpse of the finish line. And for us personally, the hardest mile is mile 9. And the reason why mile 9 is so hard is because you've already been a long way, but you still got a long way to go. And one of the things that was so unique about that was God would, when I was just about to die and ready to give up, Kelly would just get a burst of energy. And so I would chase her for a while, and then she would kind of run out of energy, and then I would, in a very annoying way, just pass her, and all of a sudden I've got all this energy, and she's like, "You're so annoying," and that was kind of, we both were like, but God gave each of us the energy we needed when the finish seems so far away. And there's a unique aspect to this that relates to our work. For us in community initiatives, we're kind of like one layer away from the front line. I mean, I know a lot of you do work on the front lines, but for people that are just truly in the CMI space, you don't necessarily see all the success stories, and you don't hear all the incredible stories because you're kind of a layer away. It's like you would do all your work at mile 9. You can't see the finish line, but you trust that it's there. And I think, Keith, I really appreciate what you said about encouragement, because you know what? We need encouragement from each other, because just like at mile 9, some of us get tired, but others of us get a burst of energy and running ahead, and we're able to then that gives us energy to like keep the pace and to finish well. And Jerry, I love what you said earlier, because you were talking about the crowns of life, and I shared a little bit of that with our team. And I just want to read this and we'll be finished. It says, the Bible references 5 crowns that await believers in heaven. And one of these crowns, the crown of life, is a gift from God that will be awarded to those who, because of their love for him, faithfully endure trials and tests on earth. James 1, chapter 1, verse 12 says, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That's not just a beautiful verse. That's a real thing. I love the saying, we should live every day in light of eternity. Friends, you know what? This life is a vapor. We're going to be at the finish line so fast. It's going to be here so fast. And yet we will get to celebrate for all of eternity the many lives, the many stories that were changed. Kelly and I have a real heartbreak right now. Just a couple. We don't know them really well, but next Tuesday, their little son's going to find out for the first time what it's like to do Christmas in 2 separate houses, and that little boy is going to have to do Christmas in 2 separate houses for the rest of his life. That just breaks my heart. But through the work that you're doing, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of kids are going to go to bed every night knowing that their mom and dad love each other and are there in the house for them. So thank you for what you're doing. You're running at mile 9, but keep the pace, and let's finish this well together. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Carl, for that. That was great. Well, that concludes our December training event. And remember, if you guys need anything at all, or if you have any feedback on today's event, please contact me at steph@marriageinitiative.org. I'd love to hear from you all. And be on the lookout for my follow-up email with the link to this recording and all of the documents that we mentioned. We love you guys, and we're so grateful that you're part of the CMI family. Merry Christmas, everyone.